I need to be aware of the, I need to be aware with the seagulls in Brighton, because they can steal your food, but it's still worth the visit. There are a lot of nice things to see there. And I have an itinerary for Crete. I know that the next time that I'm in Rio, I will book a kinetic yoga session. I mean, I discovered so many nice things. Thanks for this. It was really fun to watch. But the best part, it was really nice seeing your progress and see that you managed to do, and some of you, even the bonus challenge. Now, for today, we will discuss about CSS, like we've mentioned before. Okay, so just how long? I'm going to give another 2 minutes. If you have any questions from yesterday, please feel free to drop on the chat, or about the session, feel free to drop this question on the chat. I'm just going to give 2 more minutes so we can start. Okay. Hello, hello. I'm gonna put here the review for like what we're gonna do today. We're just gonna briefly recap the last class. We're gonna cover CSS, as I mentioned. I'm gonna talk about what is CSS. I'm gonna give some CSS examples. And obviously we will have some hands-on part, the same thing as yesterday. And then we can review and you can ask some questions if you had any, okay? And then I'm gonna open for some Q&A. Sonia, you hadn't posted your pen yet. Is that a problem, or I can upload it today? No, you can upload it today. The nice thing about uploading every day is that we can also see the progress. For example, see the HTML and then the CSS combined with it. So just plain HTML and then the combination. But there's no problem. You can sure post it today. No worries. Cool. So just recapping, I'm gonna actually open the CodePen that we built yesterday. CodePen, give me 1 second. I have it here. Yes, we're still catching up on yesterday's recording still. There's no problem. The thing is, today we're going to build on top of what we're going to build the code and everything on top of what we did previously. I'm going to do a quick recap. If you already understand a bit or you cover a bit of HTML, it should be pretty okay. If you watch the explanation, the first explanation, there's no problem. Let me show you something. Let me open this here, sorry. So this is what we built yesterday. So we learned about what is HTML, how do we write HTML, and we talked about the tags. This is how we built the HTML elements. It's with tags. And we learned how to name them. We learned that we have opening and closing tags, how to add the elements, how to add some. We have some special guests. I'm home today, so we have some special guests. They are literally in every Code Up recording that I'm in, and they really love to code. Back to HTML. Yeah, they help me code every single time. So HTML, we learned about the classes, like the attributes that we can add, like the class and the ID that we can add to different all of the tags. Remember that when we give an ID, we cannot repeat, but the class, we can have the same class within the same project. And we learned about some attributes that are you need to use within some tags. For example, for the image, for the IMG tag, you need to use the SRC, and be aware of the typos, not SCR. You need to use the SRC to state the source of your image. With the A, which is the link, you need to use the href, which is the reference for the hyperlink that you want to reference when the user click on this link. We also learned that CSS HTML is built from top to bottom. We can add images, we can add links, we can do a lot of things. However, we don't style, it doesn't look super nice because CSS takes care of the content of the page, not the design. So this is what we're gonna cover today, CSS. So let's talk about CSS. If you have some question regarding yesterday's content, feel free to drop on the chat. You already know how it works. I will answer them as we go. So the CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. A style sheet is just a file or a form that we use to define the overall look of a markup language file. So we're gonna use to style HTML files. So we can style all of the tags that we have. We can access that and change it, manipulate it on CSS. The CSS is a language that describes the visual appearance of HTML elements. Here we have some cheat sheet. We have some you have access to the slides. I will show on the Notion page where you can find it. This one is my favorite. Copy link. I will send here on the chat as well, so you can follow with me. I want to show, this is brilliant. Look. I already shared the W3 link with you, or Joanna shared with you on Slack, but I also showed you yesterday because for me, it's a really nice resource. You can get a lot of nice things from this. And yesterday we checked the HTML and today we're gonna see the CSS. So they have the resources for all of them. So you just switch the tabs. But this is just an introduction. So here we have some HTML, okay? Look, we have the welcome to my homepage, use the menu to select different style sheets. You have some buttons here that when I hover over, they change the color. Pay attention to the content. Same page, different style sheets. Then I have a blue sidebar with some text and a bottom here, like a footer, something like this. Someone said the tutorial on W3 are really helpful. I agree. I think it's really nice. They explain in an easy way it doesn't make too confusing. I really liked it. So this is one HTML with one style sheet connected to it. Okay, so we have the same HTML now with a different style sheet. Look, the power of CSS. It looks completely different, but it's the same HTML. Welcome to my homepage, same page, different style sheets, sidebar that now it's not on the side anymore, it's at the bottom. We have the same links that we can click to change, but it's completely different. It looks like a different page. If you click to the style sheet 3, again, we can change the color, we can change the placement, we can change the behavior, like when you hover over, you change the colors. If you have, you can put the links as a button, as a link on the side, one side, on the other side, after some text. You can do a lot of things. You can even create this really nice, like dark mode, so you can see everything. So exactly the same content. And this is how it looks like without no CSS at all. This is like, I don't know, 90s website vibes. Like late 90s, like website vibes, really bad. You know, there's not much we can do. And then here you have some other copy link address. You have some other resources. You have a cheat sheet, really nice. Agree. You can take a look here. I'm gonna paste and. Here you can also browse around. You have some cheat sheet for HTML as well, and you can take a look here. Okay, and Zoom things is on the way. And you also have some cheat sheet about the CSS selectors. So you can also take a look. There is all those links, they are on the slide, so feel free to use it. I'm sharing on the chat, but you have access when you access the slide. So here it's explaining a bit about the selectors, which I will tell you in a second. So it's a really nice resource to review things. Now, let's actually start like coding CSS. How does CSS look like? What we're gonna do is we have one selector, which in this case is the name of the HTML tag. And then we open these curly braces. We always gonna use these curly braces, always. And inside of these curly braces, we're gonna pass a combination of the property that we want to manipulate and the value that we want to add. It's always this combination. So I want to change the font size to be 26 pixels. The property and the value, they are always separated by a column. Okay, always. We need to follow these rules. It's just like the angle brackets in the HTML. If you don't follow the rules, the code doesn't work. And after this, you need to use a semicolon. The semicolon means I finished the statement. This is all that I have to say about the font size. It will be 26 pixels. Then you start a new property. Now the color, semicolon, color, colon, will be blue, semicolon. Before someone asks, yes, CSS is English sensitive, so you cannot write color with a U. It needs to be like this. And the color stands for the text color. So whenever you pass the property color, means you're going to change the color of the text. So in this example, we are saying that the paragraphs will have a font size of 26 pixels and the color will be blue. This is the selector, these are the properties, and these are the values. So the selectors are used to target the HTML elements that we want to style. We have 3 ways that we can use, like the most common that you're going to see and that we're going to use. We have the HTML element itself, just like we just saw it in the previous example, that you just pass the name of the tag, P curly braces. And we have the class. I can say, hey, I want to target, I want to access, I want to select an element with a given class. Anytime we use a class on HTML and we want to target based on this on CSS, we're going to use a dot. So if I want to target the element with the class fruits in CSS, I'm going to do dot fruits. Every time I have a class, I'm going to use a dot. And then curly brace is just the same. The rest of the logic is the same. And the last one is when I have an ID. And if I have an ID on HTML, on CSS, I'm going to use a hash. So if I want to target the element with the ID favorite, I'm going to do hash favorite. And then the curly braces. The only thing that you need to be aware of selecting the element itself is that this will change all the paragraphs that you have on your application. So it's really broad. And sometimes you want to be more specific. That's why the one that we use the most is like the fruits, because maybe I want this specific paragraph or the paragraphs of these sections to be blue, but not all the paragraphs of my application, of my code. This is an example of how we can do it. Imagine that in our HTML, we have the paragraph with the class fruits that says, I love fruit. So with the regular HTML that we built yesterday, we would just have a regular paragraph written in black, right? I love fruit. If we add CSS, if you want to target this paragraph, the best way is using the class. So if you're going to target based on the class, I'm going to use a dot. The name that I gave is fruits, so it will be dot fruits. Then I open my curly braces. I pass the name of the property that I want to change, which in this case is the color, colon, and the value that I want. I want this to be red, semicolon. This is the result that I have. The color of my paragraph will be different. What if I want to have only the word love on red? There is another HTML tag that we haven't used yet, and it's called spam that you can use for this. The span, it's inline, so you could wrap just the word love, for example, in this spam. Just create the opening tag before and close the span tag after. You give a class to this span tag, and then you target that specific class. It had to be different from fruits, because if it's fruit, it will change everything. So another example, here we have the same example from yesterday. We have the shopping basket, we have which is the container, we have the paragraph fruit for the apple and the orange, they both have the class fruits, and we have the peach with the ID of favorite. Then we can do a few things. For example, in the CSS, I can say, hey, I want the fruits to have the font size of 26 pixels. Would you code simultaneously? We mean the HTML and the CSS? I mean, your question is if I would do the HTML. Okay. Usually what we do is we do it depends. In this example, you can do per section. For example, you create a section and then you style that section. This is common, but you don't do like line by line. You would create either the section or the page and then you style. Or sometimes it's a bit common that you design it, you can structure at least the structure of the page, like this is on the side, I'm going to split this in columns, and then the rest of the design, like the nitty-gritties and polishing everything, comes to the end. You first do the structure and then you polish the style and make it perfect afterwards. But not line by line, like this element and then style at the same time. I would say for the example that we were building, we can do like by sections. But since it's a small one, it makes sense to start with the HTML as we did, and then we add the CSS. If using favorite makes something unique, and so does using ID instead of class, what's the point in favorite? Or what's the difference between favorite and just using the ID? The thing that it's unique, it's the ID. And favorite is just the value that I gave. So favorite, it's taken. If I wanted to call this chips, it's okay. It just means that I cannot have another ID with chips. I always use the value chips for when I want to say anything, but that's the thing. So the value that you pass here, it doesn't really matter. It's just that once you use attached to an ID, you cannot repeat anymore. Now, so in this example here, let me see if I have the fruits, this will be the result, okay? I apply the font size of 26 pixels to the fruits and the color red to the elements that contain the class fruits. So those two paragraphs, they will be red and they will have the font size of 26 pixels. Now for the element with the ID of favorite, first I'm targeting it, I'm selecting it. So I use the hash favorite and then I open the curly braces. I'm applying a background color yellow and the color blue. So the text color of the element with the ID favorite, which is this paragraph here, it's blue. And the background, it's yellow. So this is our final result. Cool, that was some really fast explanation. Let's focus in code. The default for the paragraph, it changes from tag to tag. I think the default for a paragraph, it's around, it's between 16 and 18 pixels. It's one of those. I don't remember by heart. We would need to Google. Why is favorite using hash and fruits using dot? Okay, let me go back here. Why favorite it's using the hash and fruits is using the dot? The reason it's because in the HTML, fruits is a class and favorite it's an ID. Whenever I want to target an element based on the class, what I do on the CSS, it's using a dot and then the name of the class. Like dot fruits means select in the HTML the elements that has a class with the value fruits. Now, if it's an ID, we need to use the hash. If we're looking for an element that has an ID, we need to say in CSS, hash, and then the name of the ID. Now, when we select, when we want to select this element on CSS, because this has an ID, you can say hash favorite, and then you select this one. Do for class and hash found for ID. Exactly. I don't know, maybe I understood your question about the pixels round. This value, you can choose anything. For this, like Taina already answered this online, but for this value here, you can pass anyone. But if you don't pass nothing, I think it's between 16 and 18. I don't remember by heart. Okay, let's code. If you want to code along with me, feel free to open your project, but I'm also going to give you some time, and then you can ask questions as you code, okay? I'm going to build on top of this project here, but now we're going to use this CSS section. Can I have an ID favorite and ID red? Yes, you can. You can have multiple IDs for the same element, as long as you don't repeat. Or you can have a class and ID in the same element. Sweet. So, okay, let's start. The first thing that I want to style, I'm gonna start styling this about me section here that we have the image, this H1, the H2, and the paragraph. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is to change the radius. I want to make this image like a bit round, you know, and let me think. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to do this round. So the image is the first thing that I want to do. No, maybe I'm just going to centralize the text. I have this ID about me. So I'm going to, if it's an ID, I need to use a hash. And the name that I gave, it's about -me. Open my curly braces. You can open and close it straight away. And then first, I'm going to give some space, I'm going to do text, dash center, no, text, align, center. Just to centralize everything, okay? That's the first thing that I want to do. And because I'm targeting the container, I'm going to centralize the image, the H1, the H2, and the paragraph in one single line. So this is what I meant before, like that having the container, it's a lot easier. If I want to centralize the entire container, all the elements, I want them to have the same behavior, I can do this in one single line, just targeting the entire container. And the second thing is I want to give some space. I want to give some padding. The way HTML and CSS work, imagine this like a box. The container is like a box, and you can add space outside of this box. Like, so if I have one element if I have one element here and one element here, I want to add some space outside, so the other element, for example, at the top, so the other element doesn't come super close. This space that we add on the outside, it's called margin. But if I have some content here, this is the content, this is the box, and I want to have more space inside, I need to give the space inside of my box. This space is called padding. And in CSS, we can add both margin and padding to the top, bottom, right, and left. So you can do margin top, margin left, padding left, or you can just write padding or just margin, and you apply to the 4 sides. So for this one, I'm going to add some padding of 70 pixels. There you go. Sounds good. I have some space here, some space here, some space here. Okay, sounds good to me. The second thing is that I want to make this image a bit more round, and I can do this in a few ways. I could just target the IMG image on its own because it's the only one that I have. But I just told you that this is not the best of the best things to do. So I'm going to be a bit more specific. And also because I want to teach you something different. I will target one with just targeting the HTML tag, but I want to show you something different. I can inline my selectors. I can say, for example, go to the element that has the ID about me, and then select the IMG element that lives there. So first you need to find the about me, and then you find the about me. In this element will exist one image. So select the image. So you can inline your selectors. And for doing this, we just use a space. And you need to start with the parent one, which is the wrapper, because we call it parent, because this is the one wrapping everything. If I collapse, you see that the image is inside of this container. So I'm going to select first the parent and then the child. This way, if I have another image that does not live in the about me container, it will not be affected. And then there is one property that we can use that it's called border radius, that you can add the radius to the borders of it. And if you have a square image and you want to make it round, you can set the border radius to 50%. So border radius, colon, 50%, semicolon, and then we get a nice round image. I didn't get it. What you didn't get it? Sorry, you're talking about the border radius or the selector? The image selector. Okay. So you see that this image lives inside this container. Is this clear to everyone? Like if I collapse, the image is inside. I open the container here and close the container here. So I open this image, this H1, this H2, and this paragraph, they live inside of this container. So we can do something that combine, you can combine the selectors. So you select the parent, which is we call this div the parent. So you select the parent. And to select the parent is just using the hash about me. Yes, it lives inside of the div. So I first select the div. And then I can, from this div, once I'm in here, I can select the IMG, the H1, the H2, or the paragraph. I can even select the class from the child, but I don't need, I can just select the HTML tag. But the condition is that this image, it's a child of this div. This image here lives inside of an element with this ID. So that's how we combine the selectors. So I'm saying, hey, please, the CSS is saying, grab the IMG element that it's a child of an element that contains the ID about me. So we find the element with the ID about me, and then we find the IMG child of this element. This is how the selector works. How do we change fonts? You can change the font family on CSS. How can you align the image if it was outside the about me? I tried text align, but it didn't work. You can use padding. You can use, actually the text align center should work. But if not, you can give a margin left and it should work. If you have two images on the same div, how do you target only one? Like you want to make one round, but leave the other square. You give a class, so you can target just one. And then you would do just target the class of the image that you want to manipulate. You have to be more specific. This works for me because I only have one. But if I want to target to a single element specifically, I could give it a class to this image and say class, it's equal my IMG, and then here I could do dot myMG. It would still work, okay? but that's don't need since I already have it. No, this. This is the cascading part. It's the child of the parent element. Yes, you're going to see that in code, it's really, really common to see this terminology, the parent and the child. So you understand the parent that is the one wrapping it, and the child in this example, it's the one being rendered inside of it. My image is now oval. It's possible to create a circle when my image is not a square. This will be a bit trickier because you're just applying a radius. So if you're applying a radius to the image, this will not work. Because imagine that you have a square and you apply the same radius to it, it will be oval. So the best approach is to have it as a square. So you can set the width and the height of the image to make it a square, and then you apply the border radius. Can I go over the circle shaping part again? Yes. Now, before I do this, let me remove this. Imagine that you have a square and you want to create a radius in the border, okay? Like this. So you select this property called border radius, and you're gonna set to, I don't want to do like, I'm gonna show something different, like 70%. I'm gonna show you this. If you do 70, this should be smaller. Let me show you 30%. If I do less than 50%, you just have the borders like with 30% rounded, you see, for this property. So if I do 50, it's just a tiny bit, you know? But if you want them completely round, so this bit will touch this one, and you construct a perfect circle, you can do 50. So border radius 50, you can have the perfect circle if it's a square. I don't know if it's a rectangle. I would say, yeah, change the width and the height, make sure it's a square, and then you can have it. Or if you increase the border radius, it might take some more, but if you try to increase the border radius to more than 50, like 70. I don't know if this is going to work. The best approach, I think it should still be setting the width and the height. Okay, for the about me, that was it. I'm happy with it. I think it's enough. I want to work on this section here, the intro section, which it has pretty much nothing on HTML, but I want to do a few things with you. Let me make the CSS a bit bigger. For the intro, I want to create I want to add a nice background. Yeah, so yeah, the 70% works for the rectangle. Cool, I'm happy that it worked. So what I want to do, it's actually, I haven't talked about my hometown. I'm from Belo Horizonte in Brazil. And what I want to do is just add a nice image of my city on the back, like this. And that's it. Maybe have a nice background to this, welcome to my city. But I want this to be bigger. I want to create like a bigger container or something like this, so you can really see the image properly, okay? So what I want to do is first, I want to give some space for this div, because right now it doesn't have much because I only have one H1, so I want to give it more space. I'm also gonna create some comments. For CSS doesn't read top to bottom, and it doesn't care about the order, but since we don't have the divs, I'm going to create some comments. And for commented out code on CSS, is just using / ***, everything that it's in between will be ignored. I'm just going to add about me. This is just for organization purposes, okay? Just so I know that this is the code for the about me, and I'm going to add one for the intro section. You don't need to do this. This is just the way I like doing it. Okay, for the intro section, I want to target first this container here, and this container has a class intro. So what I can do is doing a dot, because it's a class, intro, and open my curly braces. The first thing that I want to do is adding height for this container. I want the container to be a bit bigger, like take more space. So I want the height of the container to increase the height. Like right now it's like this. I want to make it like this. So there is one property called height. Yeah, that's right. Height, and I'm gonna set to 300 pixels. Mm. $500, 700 pixels. Five. That's good. Sometimes you don't know the number by heart, so you just try around. I think 500, it's enough. And I already taught you how to add an image on HTML. There is also a way that you can add images using CSS. So you can add images in the background. And this is precisely what I want, because I want the image to go behind this welcome to my city, which also should be welcome to my city. I'm gonna say just BH, which stands for Belo Horizonte, which is the name of my city, but I think this will be too big. So for now, I'm just gonna say BH, which is how we call it when you are from there. We call it BH. So this is what I want to do. And there is one property on CSS that we can add that it's called background dash image colon. And then you can say, hey, CSS, can you add the image on the background of my page? On this, like on the background of the element that has this class. And then CSS will say, sure, I can do this, because CSS can do a lot of things for us. Again, you need to say, okay, then where is the image that you want me to add? You need to be specific. Remember, the computer, it's expecting very specific and very precise instructions. So in the HTML, we had to pass the source of the image. In CSS, it's a bit different. We need to add the URL. So you say background image, and then you pass the URL, and then in between the parentheses, you pass the URL that you want to add for your background image. Again, remember that you need to pass the image address, and if you copy from Google, you pass the image address. You copy the image address and not the image itself, because otherwise you will copy the address of where the image lives, the page, the entire page, and you just want from that specific image. And then you just paste the URL here, and then we have an image. It's not really good yet. I have a few issues, like you really cannot see. You probably cannot even understand what this image it's about. So I will fix a couple of things, but we do have an image. And this is how easy it is to add something. I will do, first, I'm going to use a property called background cover. Background cover, and my image is gone. Do you have any idea of what is going on with my image? Why is it gone? Why my code is crashing? I'm gonna get some water in the meantime. You did not put the semicolon. You are too good. You are the best debugging. You're perfect. Well done. Yes, I didn't put the semicolon, so my code crashes. This is what happened. This is why add the colon and semicolon is so important. The semicolon means I finished the statement about the background image. And CodePen and most of code editors, they're really nice. They give us some really good hints, visual hints. For example, can you see that whenever we have something like the name of the class, it's yellow, of the name of if I have something in the value, we added in yellow, like something special. But the name of the properties that we are changing, they are all this purplish color. The background cover should be a property, because it's the one that I want to manipulate, but it's not in the same color. So this is already a way of saying, and we also have this indentation. So the way CSS is interpreting this, it's as if this background cover was still part of the value that I'm passing to the background image. The moment I add my semicolon here, my image is back. It changed the color of my background cover. Just don't remove the indentation. So I'm going to take it back. So use the semicolon. So the background cover, it's a property that we can add. I'm going to add a colon and I'm going to say cover. This. And there you go. Then you can see it a bit better. It's not exactly perfect, but I'm going to make it better. Just give me a second. When I was doing my page yesterday, it kept adding a huge indentation and the colors were different to yours. Is this because I've made a mistake? Now, maybe, well, I don't know. Like, for example, in my code editor, I have a color palette and people have some different. I don't know if CodePen changes the color from one to another. I don't think so. So this could be a hint that something was wrong if you had like some errors. But if you have no errors, everything is working, probably it's just the color palette. This could maybe change. For example, I'm in dark mode. Maybe if it's light mode, the color palette is different. Yeah, if there was an error, maybe that was the case that the color were giving you some hints. Okay, so I have the background color. I get the same image multiple times as a mosaic. I am not sure why. I know why. Sometimes in my case, my image is too big for my container. So when I add the cover, I can see it better. In your case, your image is too small for your container. So it will, since we add the background cover, it will try to cover the container, but replicating the image over and over until you fulfill the given space. In those cases, what you can use is the property called background repeat and set to no repeat. This should fix your issue. I still think it's not enough. I need more space. But now I want to give some, I'm going to give some inner space. Let me think. I'm going to give some padding to the top of 300 pixels. Let's see this. I like this better. Now I like it. Sounds good. So small pictures get double to fill the cover container. Can we increase the size of the picture, or do you think we need to get better quality pictures? If you set to no repeat, it should automatically increase the image for you. Otherwise, you can change the height and the width. But when you make it that bigger, it can happen that you're gonna end up with some poor quality. So maybe getting some better quality images. Let me change this to 400. Yeah, that's fine. No, I'm gonna leave it fine. 500 so you can see it. That's okay. What else? I want to change. Actually, it does fit the name of my city here. Welcome to my city. Welcome to Belo Horizonte. This text, I don't really like it. So I want to change the color to be white. That's better. I like it better now. However, let me think. Let me think how I'm gonna do this. I want to increase the size, and I want to make this title like bold, so I can see it. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna select from my intro container. So I'm here in the intro container. I want to select just the H1, the same thing that we did with the image. So please find the element with the class intro and then select the H1 that is there. Okay, for this element, for this H1 that lives in the intro, you can I center the picture as well as the text? I'm going to center the text right in a bit. Give me a second. But the image, I mean, the image is in the background, so you cannot control that much, like this. Because we're asking to take the whole background. So there's no center because it's taking everything. Okay, for the title, for this H1, I want to first change the font size because I want to make this bigger. Even though this is an H1, I still want to make it more like, I want to cause like a better impression. I want to make it bigger. So I'm going to change this to maybe 60 pixels. Let's see, semicolon. Sounds better. It looks better. Okay, I'm getting there. And then I'm going to make this font. Wait. Bold. No, obviously I cannot type. Wait. Oh, Jesus. Thanks, Christina. Look, I have 3 nightmares. No, it's already in bold. That doesn't matter. Let me see. It doesn't matter. It's already bold because it's H1. My worst nightmares in CSS as a non-native English speaker: width and height and weight. But the width and height I use a lot more. I'm always like to make sure where do I have to put the T and the H. And if you don't write it correctly, it's like it's gonna crash. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna crash your it's not gonna crash your code. It's just not gonna work, and it's not gonna tell you anything until you see that you have a typo there. So every time I'm typing width, I'm like width, TH, height, HT. So yeah, this is from I feel you, non-English native speakers. I think I was thinking about the colors of my code yesterday. I missed the background cover part. What does it do? The background cover is just to fit your image in the container. Like this. If you remove, I can remove so you can see it. In my case, it's not going to change too much because I have a big image. There you go. But it's just to make sure you're going to take the entire container. Will it stretch or crop, or if it's not the same size as the container? Exactly. Okay, where was I? There is one thing that it's really bothering me, like really bothering me. That is this margin here. But before, let me see if I can make this text. Line center. There you go. Now it's centralized. I like this better. Now, there's one thing that it's really bothering me, which is this margin here. It wasn't bothering me until we add this image. And HTML doesn't do much in terms of styling, but it does have some bits of styling. For example, this is the default behavior for the links, or this is the default size of the paragraph, or the H1 it's bold, and the default HTML page comes with a margin, small one on the top and on all the sides. And this was because since at first we didn't have the CSS, so the code started like we didn't manipulate CSS like that. So the code started like super attached here, like here. So it does add some default margin, so you can, the app can breathe a bit. I want to remove this. And this is the only time that I'm going to go back all the way to the top. You don't need to write this at the top. You can do this at the bottom. The reason why I'm doing it is because you might see this in some code. Like, it's really common to see this in CSS pages. You can have a selector that is this one. The stars means everything, everything. Okay. And you open the curly braces, and then you do margin, and you set to 0. There you go. I want to set my margin to 0. That's it. This will take off the margin, and then you can select the margins that you want from this moment on. Like, okay, I want to add margin in this container, but not in this one. Let me test something actually. If I do this, does it change something in the image? No. Okay, that was it. I removed the margin. I have my section. There is one last thing that I want to show that I think it's quite cool to add on the image. There is another thing that you can add for this image, for the background, that it's called the background attachment. We can scroll, let me show you. We can scroll the page, and then the image it's attached to the place it is. It gives like a really nice effect. So let me add here, background attachment, attachment, it's correct. Fixed. I want to fix my image like this. Look, now I scroll, my text go up, but my image is attached to the place it is. So it gives like a nice effect when you scroll your page. Cool. I would like to do something else actually for this. Let me see if I have the time. I want to style the navbar as well. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna do the navbar, and if we do have the time, I'll come back and add some nice, like a target behind the welcome to Belo Horizonte, so you can see it like better. Okay, I will do the, let's style the navbar. I'm gonna come here. Dun, 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 dun. Where is the thing that I'm looking for? Give me a second. I lost my page. Never mind. Okay, let's style the navbar. The first thing is that I do have a class called navbar. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to do dot navbar, curly braces, and then you can start styling it. The first thing that I want to do is to add a background color to this, because I don't like this white. And there are some ways that we can add color in CSS, okay? The first way, it's just writing the color that you want. So I could do background color, and I could set to black, for example. And it looks horrible, but I mean, it works. I'm gonna change the color of the links in a bit. The other way that we can manipulate the colors, the few other ways, if I go to colors here in our W3 School, so this is the first one, you can just add the names. But you can also add hex colors, for example, that you're gonna have. Sorry. That you can add some value for the red, the green, and the blue, the primary colors, and then you ended up with a color that you want. So it's a combination of, it's a hash and then colors and numbers, letters and numbers. And if you change the amount of one color, you change the result that you have, like this. You don't need to know this by heart. There are 1,000 of hex color generators over there. So you just browse around and select the color that you want. You don't need to remember. You can have HSL, which is hue, saturation, and lightness. You pass one value for each one of them as well, same thing. And you can have RGB, which also is red, green, and blue. But the way to write, you type RGB, and in between the parentheses, you pass the values that you want. So you can change the values, how many red, green, and blue, and then you ended up with something. And if you have all of them set to 0, you have black. The cool thing about the RGB is that you can add something else. You can add something called alpha, which is transparent, the opacity, meaning that it's a number that goes from 0 until 1, where 0 means complete, like the opacity set to 100%, so you don't see the color, and 1 means no opacity at all, so you see everything. So if you do something in between, you can see through. So this is what I wanted to actually. I want the black, but I want to still be able to see through like this. So it gives me this nice color. I'm going to copy this so you can see it. And I'm going to add here. There you go. So it gets this see-through color. That's fine. The other thing is that I feel that it's like my code, the links cannot breathe inside of this container. That's my feeling. So I'm just gonna add some padding here. I'm gonna add some padding, maybe 10 pixels. 0. Everything that it's between 0 and 1, if it's not 0 or 1, you see through. The closer the number it gets to 1, pay attention, the less you're going to see through. If I put 8, for example, you see less because it's closer to the 1%, which means no opacity at all. But if I put 2, you see almost everything because it's super close to 0, where it means 100% of opacity, so you don't see the color. So something in between, you see the color, but you see through. So it means the A, it stands for alpha, which stands for the opacity. Okay, that sounds a bit better. My container can breathe a bit, maybe 20. Sounds fine. No, too much. 15. Okay, I got it. That's it. I think that's that's the thing that I wanted to do. The last thing, I'm going to style the links in a bit, but the other thing that I wanted to do is that obviously I have all my links here and I have all this beautiful space here and I'm not using it. There is something really amazing, super nice from CSS that it's called CSS Flexbox. And this website is really good for CSS. This one that I'm sending, it's the guide to Flexbox. But if you go to CSS Tricks, wait, Zoom, it's on the way. If you go to CSS Tricks, they have 1,000 of other things, okay? They have loads of articles, loads of resources and things that you can read, videos, newsletters, some guidelines, some guides, a lot of things. It's a really, really nice resource for who's interested in CSS. But today I'm interested in the Flexbox. The Flexbox is something that you can use from CSS that transform your container in a flexible container. And the moment your container is flexible, you can manipulate a lot of properties about the container, and the items that lives inside of the container. And as you can see the names again, properties for the parent, the container, properties for the children, the items. So you can control things from the parent and the items. Does it work kind of like an auto layout? Auto layout, yeah. Yes, in a way, because it will take care of some things for you. Like you decide how the layout, how the behavior should be, so you can build the layout. But it's a really good way to construct, for example, responsive websites. Because Flexbox, you can say, okay, whenever you hit the end of the space that I have, I want to add the other items. I want to wrap them, for example, like this. If you finish the given space, you add another thing. So yes, you can control things like this, or you can control how do you want to put the direction of your items. The container should go like in a row, or should be in a column. Should be from left to right or right to left. You can control all of this. So yes, controls your design a bit, but you need to give the instructions correctly. So I'm not going to cover, I'm not interested for today in the properties of the children on the items. I'm going to focus on the parent, which is the container. And more specifically, there is one container. When you make your container flexible, the default behavior is that the items, that container will try to take the least amount of space possible. And then you can end it up with some extra space, like some space left. And you can control what to do with this space once this container is flexible. You can say that you want to organize all your items where your container start or where your container end. And bear in mind that start and end, it depends. If you are in a computer that by default you write from left to right, CSS will understand the start as the left. But if your default language is right to left, for example, Arabic, it will understand the start in the right, okay? It's pretty agnostic in that way. So you can say, I want to have them all on the start, or at the end, I want to centralize, so the extra space goes to the corners. I want to add some space in between. You can control all of this. And this is precisely what I want. I want to spread my space evenly between the items that I have. So there are two things that I need to do. I want to use this one here. Justify content, space, evenly. So before I use the justify content, which is a property that you can use from Flexbox, the first thing that you need to do when you want to use Flexbox is to set the display column to flex. That means my container is now flexible. Okay, so there's no more space. This space here that I have is just because of my padding. Okay, if I remove this, there you go, there's no extra space. But since I have this inner space for the text to breathe, I have this space here, but no extra space between the links. And the second thing that I want to do is to say what I want to do with the rest of the space from the container. I want to use justify content, space, dash evenly, semicolon. And with just these two lines, we can spread our links perfectly around our navbar. The last thing that I want to do is actually to change those links. I desperately hate them. It looks really bad. So I'm going to make this a bit quick. So what I'm going to do is since those are the only links that I have, I'm going to just target the A element. This will change the design of all my A elements that I have. Okay. I just want to show you how it works. You can also do .navbar and then A. It will also work, but I want to give you more examples. So if you want to do like the other way, feel free to do so. The first thing that I want to do, I want to change this color to white because, come on, so much better. The second thing that I want to do is that by default, HTML add this underline, this text decoration every time you create a link. I want to remove this. So there is one property in CSS that is called text decoration, and you can set to none. So this will remove any text decorations that were added to that element. And then the final thing, I want to make this font a bit bigger. So I'm going to change the font size to be 18 pixels. Oh, it does increase, which means that the A, it's probably around 16. There you go. So then we have this. And since you've been here with me since the beginning, I'm going to teach you something that it wasn't planned, but I think it's quite nice, so I will teach you. There is something called pseudo classes, which means that you add a class only when some action happens. This is not in the code also. This is something extra that I'm just teaching you. You don't have to do this, okay? But I can say, hey, for the A elements, I want to change something just when you're hovering over those elements. And I can say that I want to change, for example, the color of these elements. Let me grab some nice colors. I want a better version of gray. No, I don't have it. So I want to do, I don't know. Give me some options. Dark, I want dark gray. Color CSS, dark gray. Let's see. No. Let's make this simpler. I'm just gonna set to black. Sorry, not very interesting, but it will serve the purposes. And I just want to apply this property color with this value black. If you are hovering over the A element. So when we add the pseudo classes, we add the selector, and then we add the column, and then the action. So if this is correct, the moment I hover over, it changes the color. So it gives some more something nice. The A, it's referring to this element, the A element, which is the link. This is the way of selecting the element based on the HTML tag. We did this before, like with the H1 and the IMG, but we had, and so to do so only on the navbar, we would put it on the container. If you had more links and you wanted to do this just for the navbar links, you could do .navbar and this. Why there's a period before A? Where? There's a period before A. I don't see it. The period, we only add the period when we're targeting a class. If in CSS, so here, for example, in CSS, why there is no period, sorry. In CSS, and I was like, yeah, I don't see it. And you're asking, yes, why not? In CSS, in HTML, you give a class and you give a value. If you want to target an HTML element in CSS so you can manipulate and change the style, if it's based on the class, you're going to use the period. You're going to use the dot. If it's an ID, like the about me, it's an ID, you're going to use the hash, like this. But if you want to just target the element itself, it needs, you can just pass the name of the element. And A means the link, which is anchor. It's where you're going to anchor an external link. So in this example, I don't add the column because I'm targeting all the A elements that I have on my project. I just want to show you that you have different ways of selecting an element in HTML. If you want for best practices, just add the navbar before. You can do .navbar space A, or you could do a class. You could give a class to all of them, but that's just not necessary for my example. And then I can hover over and I get it. And this is working, right? I click the About Me because we did this yesterday, and I'm redirected to this About Me section here. That I think I should change the size of this image. I have this impression here that it should be smaller now that I'm here. I'm gonna change this. Where is it? Here we go. I'm gonna change the width. Okay, I'm gonna change the width of my image to, I don't know. Yeah, that's better. And that was it. This is what I wanted to teach you. I will do the thing here on the behind the Welcome to Belo Horizonte tomorrow, semicolon. Thank you. You are really paying attention. Thanks. Before I break anything. That was it for today. So I want to give you some time so you can also code. Thanks, Carolina. I'm checking if you're paying attention. You're too good. I mean, this is the best debugging session I've ever needed. Before I create the error, you're fixing yesterday and today. You're really good. I mean, you're going to be amazing developers. Or even if you want to build things for yourself. So I'm going to open for some Q&A, and we can review a few things, or you can ask me to review some concept that it's not clear. And I'm also going to show you your Notion page here. So here is your Notion page. So you have everything from yesterday, the header, the About Me, everything, the final touches, and the homework. Okay, where is this? This is the part 1. Wait, wrong thing. I'm in the challenge. Let me go back to this.
Yeah, part 2 is...
Yeah, thanks. How you can change the background for the whole page. You can change the background. You can select everything and change the background color. You know, I mean, it's not something that you can use. For now, you can use this selector. But just going over the Notion, here you have the code challenge for the part 1. How should the dropdown look? I think I did something wrong, as there's only a list with bullet points. No, the instructions that we have, it was just a list with some bullet points. I will teach you tomorrow how to create like a dropdown. I will show you a way how to create a dropdown and how to collapse a menu. But there's also a different tag I can show you in a second, a different way. But the instructions that we give, it was just like a bullet list. So you can also use the list element. Okay, so here in the Notion, Tainá is going to send the link for everyone. You have the recording from yesterday and everything. And for today, you have the slides for today. You have the code challenge for today. We're going to add the recording afterwards, and you're going to receive the email. I know that yesterday you received right after, but you're going to receive the email tomorrow. Okay. And here you have the Slack channel. Please post it on Slack, like your version now styled. I look forward to see. And here on the challenge, let's go over what you need to do. You're going to access your existing CodePen. Ensure that you are on the CSS. You're going to style the navbar. And then you have some, like you set the background color, you set the display properties, you set the padding. If there might be some differences between my code and this code, I will share mine with you. It's okay. You can also tailor. It doesn't need to look exactly like mine. You can add your own colors, your own selection. You can add your personal touch. So it's more tailored to you. So this is something that you have for the navbar. It might be a bit different, a thing or two. You define the styles inside of the navbar. You change the header styling, the hero section. There you go. Don't forget the colon and the semicolon. Lesson learned. This bit I haven't done. I can show you in a second. Okay, so we do have the time, right? We do. I will do something else, which is the thing that I wanted to do, but I'm going to do today since you have on the instructions.
Sophia.
Yeah.
I added this as an extra if they want to do, but it's not mandatory to do.
This is the bonus challenge.
Yes, it's like
Okay.
an extra. Yeah.
So this intro title, it's the bonus. Feel free
I
to
can specify there. It's an extra.
Okay, cool. So you can wrap the title you can add this as a bonus, and this one I will review and I will do it with you. Style the about me, and I know it was the first one that I styled, so if you want to make it nicer, you can see it will be. And then tomorrow we're gonna look into something called Bootstrap. Do you have any questions? Well, we do have 10 minutes though, if I maybe have the time to do the thingy. Let's open for questions. It does work. Okay, all good. The Notion, it works. I'm going to do something with you then real quick, which is the bonus. So tomorrow we can just focus on the Bootstrap. For the intro, I'm going to do the same thing since we have the time. Feel free to ask questions in the meantime, or just work on your project. For this, since I don't want to change everything from the intro, because the intro is taking care of the background of the image, of making the image like fixed. So I don't want to touch this container. So what I want to do is to add a different class just for my H1, but actually I want to wrap this in another div because it will make my life easier. We have to put something on for our city or about us. It's up to you. If you want to talk about a bit about you and a bit about the city, that would be nice. So we can know about two things. I did read most of your, I think all of those who posted recently. I read a lot of things and I was really interested in this. I discovered so many things about different cities. So for me, it was really interesting. But also I discovered a lot of things about you. So if you can create a combination, it's perfect that I get to know you a bit better. For this div, I'm going to give it a class of intro-title, which is the example that we have here in the Notion page. And I'm going to copy this and I will style it real quick. Intro title. And let me make this. I will share my code with you in a second, okay? This is the navbar code. Okay, for the intro title, I just want to do very few things, okay? My text is already center aligned, so that's fine. I just want to add a background color. Background color to be maybe the same one that I have on my navbar, because they can look a bit the same. There you go. So I have this target here already, which it's kind of what I want. But then I want to make this a bit bigger. I want to add some inner space so it can breathe inside of this container. So I'm just going to add a padding because it means inner space of maybe 80 pixels. There you go. Sounds good to me. I think it's enough. And now we can have this nice background so I can read the text a bit better. There you go. And maybe this could be all capital letters. Welcome. Welcome to Belo Horizonte. No, too much. No, go back. I'm screaming. I like my city, but come on. That's enough. Welcome to Belo Horizonte. Maybe I'm just gonna make the text, the font size a bit bigger, maybe 80. No, 70. Yeah, that's it. Okay. I'm passionate about my city, but come on. This is the extra. Let me see if we have anything else in the extra. There you go. Now that's enough. I can see through. This is what it's nice about the see-through, because if I add the opacity, I can still see the image behind of it, even when I scroll. Look, but I can have this banner behind of it. Cool. That was CSS. We can move over our links. We can click and redirect this page. We have rounded images. We learned about padding. We learned about the colors. We learned the importance of using colons and semicolons. And most important, we learned about the selectors, which is how do you target, how do you select the HTML element. At the end of the day, you want to apply all of this, but you need to be very specific. Like I wanted to add this background color here to this specific element. So I need to find the correct selector. So this is what we do with CSS. We target the HTML elements. So based on the class, we always use the dot. So if this has a class intro title, I'm going to use dot intro title. If it's based on the ID, we use the hash. So if it's ID about me, I use hash about me. And I can also use just the HTML element on its own, like this. And I also cover real quick the pseudo classes, which just add some CSS properties based on when the user is performing a specific action. That was it. Maybe this, yeah. Taina already shared the survey with you. Actually, I want to share my code with you. Let me save this so you can access and use it as a reference if you need. Please fill the survey so we know what we need to improve and everything. Tomorrow we're going to share another one with you. And post your code on Slack channel. I look forward to see. Now I think it's the time that we're going to see more different results, because you can start doing your own things. With the HTML, it was already a bit different, but we cannot create that many different things. Obviously, we have a different image and so on, but I think that now we're going to see a bit more of your personality as well. Cool. If there are no more questions, that is it. Tomorrow we will learn. Yeah, Taina. Thanks, Julia. Thanks for your interactions. Thanks for the question. Feel free to ask something. I'm going to stay here a few more minutes. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them on the chat. And if you're disconnecting, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. It was a really nice session. You're a really nice group. Thanks, everyone. Bye. See you tomorrow. I can. I'm going to start this.